You know, uh-oh, did you see that? Look at this, X-ray. We're gonna go X-ray here. X-ray on this next image. X-ray, look at the pompano coming through. Welcome back to Fish Gum, the channel. I am Tony Fagione. We are diving back into the ocean off the shore of Okaloosa Island on the panhandle of Florida. I'm using a double drop rig with a small bullet orange float and about size 6 sabiki hooks. The bait that I'm using today that you'll see on the hooks will either be crawfish, that's right, crawfish, or sand fleas. First fish of the day, of course, we're loaded right now in the summertime, is the ladyfish. Various curious creature coming through, coming out, checking the bait out. Takes a little bit of a pick right there, but goes right away out of the frame. So one thing you have to think about when you're looking at these underwater videos and you've got the rig on there is the fact that this camera is kind of big. It's about 8 inches long. It's black, and so in my opinion, these fish are a little bit more skittish. So if we're able to catch one, that's big. I think that was a bluefish that just came by. Here is a hardtail giving us some action, pecking at the crawfish out of the frame right now. Really mesmerizing when you watch these videos. And you can see that the water is kind of dirty and stirred up. This is still the remnants of Tropical Storm Claudette that really trashed our waters, brought a lot of sargassum grass to the shores. Pompano! Look, he's hooked! He's hooked! The pompano ate the sand flea. This will be a keeper pompano. Typically the pompano, when they hit, they're kind of curious. They don't really commit like that fish did. It went right after the sand flea. It was in the bottom dropper, kind of rested on the bottom. And I will not lose this fish. The hook, again, is a size 6 gold sabiki hook. We will reel this fish all the way in. In a separate video, you will see all the other fish that I caught during this day. This wasn't the only one. However, it is the only one that actually hit the underwater camera, which is really fascinating to see this from the really fish's perspective, that we get to see down by the hook what exactly is going on. Here he is, landed on the shore. There I am, upside down, defying gravity, about to pick up the pompano and go right back into the water in just a second. Fun times here. Pompano landed, going in the cooler, gonna be blackened by my wife Natalie and I later that day. Back in the water, sailing through the air, dropping down back into the ocean. Typically, Okaloosa Island's water is crystal clear. This tinge, a tint of green, is uncharacteristic of Okaloosa Island. If you can see right here, look at all the minnows. And I want you to pay attention to that. That's either baby ladyfish or glass minnows. During the summertime, the surf is loaded with food options for fish. When you're fishing in those kind of conditions that is the summertime, you're really going to have to use smaller baits, smaller hooks, because these fish, for the most part, are full. So you're going to try to eat something big when they're full? No, something smaller. Again, look at all the baby minnows coming through the area. It really is an amazing thing to see all this bait. Also, the sand fleas are more prevalent, right? The coquina clams are everywhere. But remember, smaller baits in the summertime. There goes some bluefish going by. Close-up frames for the next little bit here. You can see how that little float really keeps the bait suspended. Of course, if it was a heavier bait, it would sink. A lot of action. That orange looks so vivid in the water. It's really no, uh-oh, did you see that? Look at this, X-ray. We're going to go X-ray here. X-ray on this next image. X-ray, look at the pompano coming through. You see him? That was 2. I think there's one more you can see in the X-ray. Let's see if we see him. Yeah, saw him go out of frame there. So turn on the X-ray vision a little bit just to see those pompano go by. Was a pretty cool feature of the software I'm using to edit here. You clearly saw the pompano in schools. There's probably 3, maybe 4, but it was cool to see those come through. Of course, we didn't get them to strike. Ladyfish are hanging around. Really, really interested they're not hitting this. I think they're kind of scared, again, of the camera that's under the water with these fish. The camera is sitting down by the weight and pointing back up towards the sky. So we've got a 6-ounce Sputnik weight, the camera pointing back up towards the bait. So we're looking towards the shoreline from the bottom up at the rigs themselves. Whoa, that was a Spanish. Again, let's do some X-ray vision here. Spanish mackerel, boom, out of there. So if you're fishing during the summertime, you know, there's a lot of action, even though I'm not detecting it on my end of the line. You really, when you're fishing set rigs in the summertime, go ahead, Pompano, again, coming in. That was a missed opportunity. I will not catch that one. But again, this is going after crawfish. Pretty cool. That Pompano hung around for a while, took a couple hits, couldn't get him to strike. These baits are very small. So, you know, he didn't really inhale it. We didn't get a chance to catch him. Back to the ladyfish. Bring a spoon. Bring a gotcha lure. Bring something easy to cast over and over and over into the surf zone while you're waiting on your set rigs. With all this life, the bluefish, the Spanish mackerel, the ladyfish, they're going to hit those spoons while you wait for something maybe better to hit the set rigs. What you're looking at to the right-hand screen, there's two of them. There's one up top moving, and there's one moving there at the bottom of the frame, the top, or bottom right, excuse me. That is a olive snail. Olive snails will attack your bait, and they will actually bring it down into the sand and bury it and eat your bait. So during the summertime, they're more active. When you're reeling your bait in to check it, if you feel like it's stuck in the bottom of the ocean or your weight stuck, it's not your weight. These olive snails are everywhere, and they're taking your bait down to the sand, and that bait is not going to be suspended in the air for the fish or the ocean water for the fish. So check your baits more often during the summertime, or you will be cause prey here to the olive snail. Here we go back to the ladyfish, heavy in the ocean. This is a pretty good size school. Welcome back, Fish Gum fans. In this video, I use Pompano Rich, Pompano Kesher rigs, and you see the importance of checking your bait often. I use 12-foot rods, and sometimes you can't really see the bite strike, or if you're getting picked apart. Sometimes it's even a subtle little tap, 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 and basically what's happening is you're getting picked apart by a little small fish. In this video, you'll see the importance of checking your bait often. Do you do it often? It's amazing to go back underwater with the Go Fish Cam. Enjoy. All right, all right, all right. We are back here under the water around the panhandle of Florida, Navarre Beach, and I have a double drop rig baited with cut bait. You can see rolling in the background, and then up front I have some shrimp, and in the background we see devil rays. They typically are in pairs when I see them at the beach. They're the horns in the front of the devil ray. They're harmless, there's no stinger, and they're sailing right by. We have the Atlantic bumper, I believe. I believe those things have stickers at the bottom of the fish that can fin you and hurt like crazy. Oh, did you see that? Look to the right. I can't tell if that is a speckled crab or a ghost crab. It looks more like a ghost crab, which if it is a ghost crab, it was out there pretty far, like 75 yards. Ladyfish in the frame, typical during the summertime, fun to catch. The poor man's tarpon, not interested in anything that I have going on. And now I want to draw your attention to the black specks that are floating and swirling in the sand. That is poop. That's right, folks. Say it with me, poop. It's either from a ghost shrimp or a sand flea. More Atlantic bumper. It's always good to know what poop source you see, because that reveals to you the bait source. Another devil ray swimming right by. We've got some devil rays in the background coming in again in pairs. Don't know if it's the same two or something different. We've got another ladyfish coming in close, out of the frame and gone. Surprised that we're not catching that ladyfish. They will eat the shrimp. And we've got a big school of ladyfish. Again, this is about 75 yards out beyond the first sandbar. And I would expect that a schooling ladyfish population are about to go insane when at least one fish decides to strike. And then you'll get reaction strikes from everyone else that want to join into the fun And there you go. A nice hello, sir. Goodbye, lady, or shall I say. And let's see if we can't get any kind of hookup here from these ladyfish. They have settled. They're picking at the cut bait, not hitting the shrimp just yet. There you go. Just keep nosing it. That one looks like hit the shrimp. Oh, that went after the bead. And know that if you're using floats or beads, they're going to strike that when there is a frenzy. It could be a school of pompano, a school of whiting. All right, there's a fish on. I do remember losing this fish. I am using 10-pound fluorocarbon on my leader. There he goes, gone. And they have sandpaper-like teeth. And depending on your leader size, oh, what an incredible shot through the gills of a ladyfish. That was awesome. Look how wide that opened up. Those are baby Jack Crevalle. When they're small, they're known as yellowtail. Look how yellow their tail is. No shock. Just check out the shrimp floating on the bottom. I did put a live whiting on the back hook. You can see that it's swimming around. I did hook it in the tail. You're going to see that's a mistake here in a minute. Another ladyfish just going right through. It does take one to get them started. There was a little bit of a hit. Just kind of nudged the whiting, but it's alive and it is really way too big. Unless you're a largemouth bass, most fish will not eat something oversized to their mouth in the salt water, especially the smaller species like ladyfish, bluefish, pompano, whiting. They will pass up something too big. They may mess with it, but for the most part, they will pass right on it. We've got that shrimp just kind of chilling, really in a vulnerable state, and look what we have. This is what is crazy. This is the closest I've ever got to the olive snail completely enveloping with its pseudopod, I think, false foot. It comes out, and we've got a little whiting peeking over the hill there, and it will completely envelop this bait. And it doesn't matter if it's a giant bait, a small bait, it will expand and wrap over the entire bait. It reminds me of that movie back in the day called The Raft, where it was some oil slick monster that would wrap over people and eat them. Kind of weird, on a raft in the water. But you can see the pseudopod, if that's what it's called, going over the entire bait. And there will be nothing left uncovered by this olive snail. And know that olive snail activity is actually higher than crab activity because it's more year-round. And so if you're not using floats or something that keeps the bait off the sand, at some point you're going to see that this olive snail will, after it completely envelops the shrimp, will go straight down. And that's what he's doing right now. There's some more yellowtail, and it is going down in the sand, burying your bait, and you are fishing literally with nothing as it completely goes down into the sand. And I have found these olive snails all over the beach without the organism living in it. So I'm assuming that when it tries to eat something, it's exposed to a predator, and that predator will come and eat the olive snail that's exposed. And now you go with the whiting in the back. I learned something here. The whiting is gone. Hooking a fish in the tail for bait may not be the best place to hook. I usually do that, but what I saw just now may need to try more of behind the head or in the front ridge of the mouth and work that hook through. Another olive snail, don't know how this thing was able to locate the other olive snail, in the sand, but it sure did. And now there's some kind of subterranean fight going on between these two olive snails. There's 3 faint devil rays in the background. And so now there's some fight going on. Oh, look, there is the other olive snail coming back out of the sand on the left. Still has the bait, and it looks like it's trying to escape from the competition due to the other olive snail finding its location, probably from scent or the slime trail it releases, but no one really knows this is a problem. I know I've talked about this before there. He's completely exposed before. But if you don't check your bait every 15 to 25 minutes when you're surf fishing, 9 times out of 10, your bait is rendered useless by something. I have pulled back olive snails like this before and have had my bait attached to the olive snail. We are jumping right back into the water, long casting rigs with cameras on it like the Go Fish Cam, and we're seeing something that I have never seen before. Welcome back to Fish Come, the channel. I am Tony Fagione, and someone needs to tell me what I'm looking at. It looks like a blob. It's not trash, it's not seaweed. It is actually moving along the ground. There were a high incidence of jellyfish in the area, but that is not a jellyfish. It is the size of a soccer ball. Gets hung up on my line a little bit, but just like a good blob, is able to come right through the line and keep going. If you know what that is, we need to know. Leave a comment below telling me what I am looking at in this picture, because I have absolutely no clue what that is. Continues to move. You can see the current moving the trash on the ground at a pretty consistent rate. This thing is stopping and going and moving. It looks like it's covered up like a sniper would be, waiting to ambush something covered with leaves. But I really don't know what this organism is, but it definitely is moving. Please let me know if you know what I'm looking at. I am using float hooks. There is a needlefish gar. Checking out the float hook. Here comes a very large school of Jack Crevalle baby and a hardtail there, sniffing it out. Now it's shifted over to a bunch of hardtail. Float hook basically has the hook and the float combined. It did do pretty well in these images, just keeping the bait together and hoping that the fish go more for the bait than the actual float. That's the experiment we're under at this point. Comes a school of bluefish. Just amazing how many different species we're seeing right now. They are not interested in eating the sand flea that's cut in half, the fish gum, or the shrimp on the very third one. Here comes more Jack Crevalle. I did catch a lot of Jack Crevalle that day. About 4 or 5 of these little juveniles. People do eat them. They call them yellowtail. I'm not going to eat a Jack Crevalle. I don't care what the size of it is. Just not going to do it. Not much current. You can see here comes a faint shadow of the ghost. There is pompano coming through. Good size pompano. At least keepers. Here comes a school of more Jack Crevalle following the pompano. It is cool to see how different species will school together. Not necessarily predatory species. Here comes some more bluefish, it looks like. No, that's pompano. Pompano and bluefish. Wow. Just not interested. That's about a school of about 20. There's some more in the very faint background you can see coming through at this point. 2 cobia. Very, very, very cool. They will actually eat and get caught here. It's a cobia going for the fish gum, and he is hooked. Cobia, remora look a ton alike, but the cobia has no suckers on its forehead. That is a sea anemone, I believe, and it is reactive. in the current, and it's also going to close its fingers, I guess what they're called. It's the very first time I've ever seen a sea anemone in these underwater surf fishing videos. Very cool to see it just chilling out there. Obviously exposed, but nothing's going to try to eat it. Another cast out deep. Back into the yellowtail zone. Pretty quick. Coming into frame. I am using a glow float. That looks like a little fish there. You can see it reacting on the bottom. Those are more Jack Crevalle. Those are actually hardtail. I'm sorry. They have yellowtails in low light. Checking out the bait, moving through in and out of frame. I get this question a lot, is why aren't they eating the bait? Well, I've used ghost shrimp, I've used sand fleas shrimp and fish gum, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that there is a big camera below, and they're a little skittish. They're not used to seeing a black Go Fish cam in the distance recording them trying to eat the food, so it makes them a little shy. One thing about this day, more yellowtail, just really stealing bait, messing with bait. There's some crab activity as well. But one thing you need to know about this day is I did not catch a single pompano. I had 4 of the rods going as well. I did not catch a single whiting, although we will see some whiting coming through. Here comes some more bluefish. I did not catch a single bluefish. There are your whiting as well coming through. It just was a hard day of fishing. The pompano, the bluefish, and the whiting just were not interested in eating. Oh, of course, what is life in the surf filming if there's not a crab trying to steal your bait? If you're surf fishing right now, the flat water is out there. Check your bait every 15 to 20 minutes. You've got to. All these small fish that are coming through like the hardtail, all the yellowtails, and then the dang crabs. Crab activity is super high when it is super duper calm. 1 foot waves or less, your crabs are coming for you. Might need to use more floats. Of course, I shifted over to the green Get 'em beads, and this is in the bottom. Is he going to get hooked? No, spits it right. It's just amazing to me how many times fish don't get hooked. They're chewing on it, they're eating it. It's almost, I've said this many times on underwater video before, it's almost a miracle when you actually catch a fish and they get hooked. It's not as simple as you think on set rigs. It is an interesting style of fishing, and sometimes you hook them and sometimes you don't. These things are hanging around. Another swipe at the actual ghost shrimp. He got a little piece, he ate it. And that's going to do it for these guys. Wait a minute. He's actually hooked. Yeah, he's finally hooked. That hook's way back there. So he got that in his mouth, and he is on. Let's see if he can get himself. Oh, he got off! Are you freaking kidding me? That fish got off that easy. Wow. The longer they stay hooked without you causing pressure, the more likelihood you are probably going to lose that fish by him getting off. Sometimes you can walk to your rods, I get it, but I'm going out in a full-out sprint because I don't want to lose a fish at all. Here's a close-up picture of an eat, another hardtail. It's not there yet. I don't think he's hooked. Spit it out. Nope, he's actually hooked. Let's see if he stays hooked. Again, this is 50% of the natural speed, and that fish is hooked. Let's see if he stays hooked. Fighting, fighting, fighting. Yeah, that hook's in his mouth. And you can see it right there in the corner of his mouth. And because of this wrestling match, this fish is actually attracting more fish to him, making all those sounds and noise of struggle. They're interested, like he's in a feeding frenzy or something, so it keeps other fish around the area. That hook is not coming out of that hardtail. And, you know, some people say that fish don't feel pain. Now, I know I'm opening a can of worms, but supposedly a hook causes no pain in the mouth of a fish. Now, I want you to see this. Look at that little wormy thing coming out of the sand. That is a predatory animal. That little thing will take your bait, envelop your bait, and bring the bait down into the sand where you are. That is an olive snail. I believe that little thing right there is one of his eyes looking for your bait, and he is going to come out of the sand, and you'll see his shell here in a minute, and he will steal your bait. Be on the lookout for these snails. Here we are back in the water, casting off Navarre Beach into a deep trough just right off the beach. And the very first thing I want you to notice is how dirty the water is. It's going to be a little bit hard to see the dropper in the very far center background. You can see a faint shadow moving. And this water will actually get progressively cleaner the longer we're fishing here off Navarre Beach as the tide comes in. So you'll notice that the beginning of the video is going to look a lot different towards the end. The rig that I'm using is the Surf Pro Tackle float hooks, orange and gold. Gold is a color not used as often in surf fishing, but it is very attractive to fish. I just zoomed in on pesky critters that will steal your bait and bury them down in the surf. 2 olive snails. They'll grab your bait, envelop it, then bring it down deep, and then you won't have any bait. Here we go. What is this? This looks like we got ourselves a first object besides the olive snails, and that is a crab. I can't tell if it's a speckled crab or a different kind, but it is trying to go after my swivel, and you're not getting much off of that, buddy. What I need to do a lot more of while surf fishing is incorporating some cut bait on my droppers, especially during this time of year. You can see some Spanish mackerel. They will hit shrimp or fish gum or sand fleas, but they typically want some fish. So cut bait on your droppers. You may lose some fish because they got teeth. You'll catch more Spanish mackerel on set rigs by doing that. More Spanish mackerel coming in and out. That's a big one. Especially if you have a lure. If you got a lure, you can catch some of these bad boys in the surf right now. This is later spring. Water temperature is heating up, and these things are coming in close, as is the bluefish right now, surf fishing during the later part of the spring. You can see the dropper. Here's a pompano coming in right at the dropper. He's going to take a swipe at the float hook. You can see the orange hook. Hard to see with this clarity. He took a swipe at it. It's in his mouth. He's trying to chew it. It's still in his mouth. Don't think he's hooked just yet. It's in his mouth. He's trying to crush it. And when we see him freak out, that's when he's hooked. All right, he's hooked. And remember, the perspective is that this is slowed down to 1/4 the speed. So all that eating in his mouth happened pretty quick, but looked slow to us. Yeah, he's hooked. He's trying to get away from this hookup, but he's not going to. That hook is in his mouth. You can see it towards the bottom. And look, we got a friend that saw the action, and we will see for the first time that I've ever used the fishing camera. This is the Weston Escape Cam underwater fishing camera. I'll leave a link in the description. Where to find it is that we have a double hookup on camera, and this is a first for me. Really cool to see that this action brought in another pompano, and the other one is hooked as well. We'll see both fish here coming into frame, trying their darndest to escape the Surf Pro Tackle float hooks. And we're at the whim of the fish getting in and out of frame. I can't control that. I'm actually reeling this in as we speak. There's one. And the other one will come into frame here in a second. Really amazing to see a double hookup occur. There's the other one in the distance. You can barely see him. He's up higher in the water column. But we're going to play this out all the way to the beach and land this double hookup. They were legal. These fish were 12 to the fork. In the state of Florida, 11 to the fork is the minimum size you can keep. There is no maximum. Just a beautiful fish in the water. You see the olive colors, the silvers. This double hookup occurred. Typically when they occur is the action of one fish drawing in the other one to the other bait, and then it hooks up. So this guy's freaking out. I'm hoping we can see both in frame. The other one is way up in the water column, like I said. Hopefully we'll get in here and see both fish in frame. Unfortunately, we couldn't see both eats. We assumed, because of the other pompano coming in later, unhooked, that the action of the first pompano drew in the second pompano. But we get close and personal to seeing this fish come in towards the beach as I'm reeling in. Oh, I see two tails now. All right, there's the other pompano is right by the first pompano. That float hook just staying in the mouth, not losing the fish. Ate the entire float hook, chewed on it, got hooked. These fish have crushers in the back of their throats. It's more like a plate crusher. The black drum has more of a teeth type crusher in the back of their throats. There's the other pompano top right. Nope, that's actually a reflection. I've got four on. Four pompano. No, that's the reflection. Come on in, buddy. Fun fight when it's two. You always think you have just the monster fish, but these fish are fighting each other and they're fighting me. Speed this up just a little bit. This is half speed now. It should get to the surface and on shore rather quickly. Not much is changing in these frames, but we want that double hookup all the way to the beach. Again, I was stoked. You don't ever know when you're using these cameras. This one actually lasts 3 hours on one charge, so you can literally catch so much action. There they are. There's one, and there's two right there. Double hookup, two pompano. Such an incredible shot of me as the angler and these fish coming in. I don't know if you can do even more of a picturesque photo than this right here. Two pompano laying on the beach. Next cast in the water. Should be clearer this time. Every time we put the camera back, the water gets better, and you can see the dropper in frame towards the top middle. See it subtly moving, and you can really see the float hook. The orange in this clarity is a good color. The green color of the ocean and the clarity. Oh, we got this. What is this? Spanish mackerel in the background. Here comes a bunch. Passing up the bait, not because they're not hungry, it's because that needs to be a piece of fish or some kind of spoon or ES lure would work. Very cool to see these Spanish mackerel right at legal, nothing gigantic. Did not see these on top of the water. Usually they'll feed on some small fish and you can throw on them when you see the birds or them feeding, but didn't see it. Another cast off Navarre Beach. You can freeze frame and see what condos I'm by to see where I'm fishing, but don't do that to me. Usually people from this area know exactly where I'm fishing. And if you want to notice one thing too, there's a lot of feces, and those feces are from ghost shrimp. Tons of ghost shrimp poop out there. Another school of Spanish mackerel. I cast right back in the same spot with the Escape Cam by Weston Fishing. And if you're new to this channel, I have an extensive library of underwater fishing video. It is something I enjoy doing. I've changed my fishing style from what I've seen on the underwater fishing camera. It used to be the Go Fish Cam. They have gone out of business. Now the Weston Escape Cam is what I'm using. I have two. I dedicate one rod to the fishing camera every time I go fishing. More Spanish mackerel. I don't know about y'all, but I do not like the taste of Spanish mackerel. It tastes very fishy to me. I love king mackerel. King mackerel is like a steak. Very, very good table fare. If you like Spanish mackerel, are you tasting the fishiness like I do? Do you have a special way to cook it? Leave a comment and tell me how you cook your Spanish mackerel. There is no shortage of Spanish mackerel in the surf to target and eat and have fun catching. I just don't like the way they taste. Another pompano coming in frame like a bat out of Hades. Already in his mouth. He actually spit it. Went after the bait first. Now the entire float is in his mouth with the hook. Back out again. Wow, this is unexpected. He's still testing it in his mouth. Not hooked yet. So we do see multiple attempts. Now he's hooked because he's freaking out. So if you notice that pompano, they're testing these baits out. They're testing these droppers out. They're seeing if it is legit, right? And the way they do that is, number one is they see something. And number two is they smell something. Number three is they actually taste something. Look at that float hook in the mouth. Good shot of that. And then another thing is they texturize something. Is there something that feels like it should? So when they crush it, if it's not feeling like their normal fish that they eat or their normal bait that they eat, like a sand flea, a coquina clam, or a ghost shrimp, they're going to spit it. But they may go after it again like this pompano did 3 times. So the goal is to get them to stay. So I use baits that are super scented. Fish gum bait. I'll use OP bait soak, which is infused with synthetic ghost shrimp scent profile. I'll use sand fleas. I have tried coquina clams before. I actually caught my first pompano using a coquina clam wrapped like a sandwich with fish gum. And so these fish are used to feeding naturally in their habitat, and so their mouths can feel the texture. And that was taught to me by the sinker guy, Chip Brundage, of how important not only is scent, color, but also texture. He uses glass fishing beads. They'll click-clack in the mouth of a pompano. Check out his website to see that. And I really want to just have a plug out there for anybody who's watching this, anybody who's in the industry, anybody who's making videos. Always give credit to people who have taught you something. That is the right thing to do. Don't act like it's your idea that you came up with. Give credit where credit's due by name. If you've seen a video and if you've seen somebody else using something on the beach, give credit to that person. Even if you want to make a profit making something, give credit to somebody where credit is due. So thank you, Chip, for that piece of advice of texture being so important. Also, when we are catching fish from the surf, this guy's caught. He's coming in, and he is a keeper. He was about 11.5 to the fork. Hit the float hook by Surf Pro tackle. Another cast back in the surf. You can see the water is getting progressively clearer and clearer. So just because you start off fishing and it's nasty, once that incoming tide's coming in, which we were fishing an incoming tide, that was bringing the cleaner water in, and you see this transition as we are literally using the Weston Escape Cam down in the water. Again, you still that ghost shrimp poop. Slowing it down here. We got some more Spanish mackerel coming into frame. There's more Spanish mackerel today that I've seen on this video than any other species of fish. So that should tell you something. While you wait with your set rigs, and it was slow that day that we fished, why not sling something metal to catch a Spanish mackerel. That is a hardtail, also known as a blue runner. Huge school, only one hookup on the dropper. We're not going to see this play out, but he was caught almost immediately when he touched the float hook. So pretty good success. I also have another video where I use a soft float hook by Shellfish Gear. My goal is hopefully to carry both iterations of float hooks with my own colors and my own scheme by these two great companies. I first found the float hook watching a YouTube video by Pope 311 made on a Kale hook. I like a smaller profile float hook like these from Shellfish Gear and Surf Pro Tackle. You can check out their websites. You can find them on Facebook, and you can order these for your surf fishing arsenal. Another bluefish that time came right in. Oh, look at that. Boom. Not a giant one, but it looked like a giant one because it was so close to the camera. Now we have this transition. Look at the water now. Look how clear it has become just as we're fishing. This was a long day of fishing. This was, gosh, 7 hours. And so in a 7-hour period, this is towards the tail end, it became clearer and clearer and clearer. Now you'll be able to check out the action of the float hook in the frame. You can see how it's keeping the bait in the water column where the olive snails and the crabs cannot get it. This is actually full speed. There is a swimming action. Pompano Rich Vitalich, one of the really OGs on surf fishing rigs. He has surf fishing rigs at pompanorich.net. They're called safari rigs. A little crab coming in here. Hey, buddy. And he's the first one to really talk about this jigging action of the pompano rig, and it attracts fish, right? Movement, scent, color, texture. I don't know about you guys, but when I see these puffer fish, they just look like they're not very smart, even though they could have an IQ of a fish IQ like Einstein. I just, in my mind, every time I see one under the camera, under the water, it's like, doo-dee-doo-dee-doo, doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. I've never eaten a puffer fish. Have you eaten a puffer fish? They're very good at picking off the OP bait soak right here in frame and swallowing it. But I don't necessarily know what they taste like. I know there is some toxins that they have. You have to be careful. But between me and you, I'm not going to eat anything that has the potential to kill me. I'm not going to have somebody prepare that for me. I'm not going to eat. I don't care that you tell me how amazing it could taste. I am not going to eat something that has the potential to kill me. Have you? If you've eaten a puffer fish, let me know how that thing has tasted and if it's worth it. All right, so after watching this puffer fish, he will come back, and he is actually going after the easiest bait to take off, which is the pieces of shrimp that are on there. One thing to communicate to you as a tip is that I don't feel or see this happening back at the shore. So he is cleaning off each one of my droppers. Every 15 minutes to 20 minutes, if it's slow out there, reel in your baits and check them. We had multiple times where we had no bait on our hooks. That's a tip. Second tip is, if it's flat and you're using shorter rods, sometimes crab and the snails can still grab your droppers. If it's a flat day, you're going to want to reel in your rod and your rig, not all the way in. You're going to reel it in about 5 cranks just to get anything that could have buried that bait off. I have done that before, and sometimes you have probably felt reeling in your rod with the bait on a flat day of how hard it is, if you're not using Sputniks, to get your bait out of the sand. That's because it's been buried down by something that has immobilized your baits down below the seabed. So that tip is huge. Move it when it's flat, 5 cranks. Reel it in every 15 to 30 minutes when you need to check your bait. And this is just a great closeout frame of the float hook gold and orange. I'm going to zoom in here, let you see its action. We just got done casting the Go Fish Cam out in the rough surf. Now it's time to take it back and the fun really begins. Watching these fish. Let's see what that looks like right now. And there's a cast back in the water. We are using Rich Vitalich's Pompano Safari rig with pink flies. And pink is a hot color right now during the fall months for surf fishing. Back at the shore, getting hit on that rig. Whatever that was popped the dropper right off. We'll be able to go back and look and see what the heck just stole my float. The Rich Vitalich flies with the patented float. Look at that thing. Amazing shot coming up. That is a black tip shark. Sucks it in. You can hear it pop when he breaks it off. Look at the corner of his mouth on the left side. This fish has been hooked before. There's the black tip. You can harvest any size black tip shark in Florida. Here we go, full speed. Gone. Little pompano came into frame up the corner. Just looking, creeping, not committing. Back at the beach there is a fish on. I missed that. It went slack. I was adjusting my camera and I realized that it went slack here in a second. And I start reeling like crazy, trying to catch up to whatever is on the line. Slowed down, about 1/4 speed. Pompano is highly interested in the Safari rig. I'm using fish gum and shrimp. Just nudges it. Sucks in the fly. Suck the entire dropper into his mouth. Twice he pulls it in. That is amazing to see him suck the bait in there. Just the fly right there. Back out. Oh, little piece of shrimp got off after this suck. Here it is again. Takes the bait in. Back out. It's almost like he knew how to rip off the food. Boom. Gone. A little bit of a snack right there. Look how many opportunities we have at this fish right now. He's not hooked yet. As you can see, just checking out the droppers. The fish is finally about to get hooked here. And there it goes. Freaking out. Pulling the line, trying to get off. And I'm not seeing this back at the shore because the line went slack, which is classic of a pompano hit and running back towards the shore. And he is trying to run back towards the shore because the camera is right down by the weight. The weight is at the bottom of the frame, which you can't see. Now we're going full speed. I'm actually reeling in finally at this point, realizing the fish is on. It's coming in. You see it getting shallower and shallower. And there we are. The fish is landed. Hello, I'm not really filming. That's a nice pompano we caught. We got the fight underwater. Cast back out in the same exact spot each time. Because once I found one fish, there's still going to be more in that area. There's a reason why they're feeding. That was a blue fish. And here are some more pompano. There's one. There's two. Such a ghost-like creature coming in. Three. And again, in the same exact place as before. They're checking out the bait. At this point, I don't know why these aren't hitting. I don't know if there's little pieces of seaweed. There might be, which could be a hindrance of the actual strike. A lot of particulates out there. But this rig is really attracting fish. Close. Caught one. Let's see if these guys go after the bait. That one actually went down the line. First dropper, second dropper, third dropper. Did not seem interested, but still checking them out. And you can see how strong that current is too. And they just glide so effortlessly in the current. Leave a comment below what you learned watching this underwater fishing video. I publish more and more each year. And here we go, the cut bait and the pompano rig with the Weston escape cam sailing through the air, dropping into the Gulf of Mexico, where it will anchor itself using a Sputnik on the seabed floor. Pompano rigs, if you've never seen one in the water before, they can come with floats, they can come with beads, but the purpose of the floats, like these floats, are to keep the bait vertical off the bottom, where you'll see in a minute where there will be some critters that will try to eat it and render your attempt to catch fish absolutely useless. The cut bait I'm using here is Jack Crevalle. I have caught fish on Jack Crevalle, actually just one fish, a Spanish mackerel. You can see a flounder being very stealthy on the right. They blend in so nicely. He'll bury himself here in a second. Just kind of eyeballing the cut bait, not too sure what to think of the cut bait. You may ask, why am I using leader? Because these are toothy critters. I can take my rig and chomp off the bait and the float and I'll have nothing. So we'll see if that impedes them striking my bait by having that leader. He gets real close and nudges it. Let's see if he tries to eat it. It's slowed down here to 1/4 of the original speed, so that's pretty slow. All this is happening instantaneously if we were to watch this in regular speed. Just not gonna take a chance. Not sure of that bait. Have you ever used Jack Crevalle for bait? If so, what did you catch? If you've caught nothing, then I probably won't use Jack Crevalle again in this experiment with cut bait and videotaping it underwater. You can see the elusive olive snail. A lot of people did not know these exist. And what they do to your bait, they will actually attach themselves to your bait, then dig it down far underneath the ocean floor, very tightly held down, and you will have no opportunity to catch fish because the bait is gone. These guys are always in the area. There goes a little crab, kind of seeing if the snail had anything that he could steal. But what I want you to know about these snails is just go ahead and acknowledge that they're real. And number two, that for the most part, you will have one staging at your bait. I'd say 80% of the time that I've had a underwater camera filming my pompano rig, 80% of the time there has been a snail staging by my rig to have an opportunity to take my bait. And this will cause you to not have opportunities at fish. It will be missed opportunities. Here we go. We have bluefish, a big school of bluefish. And let's see if one will try to eat the cut bait. There are two, one in front, one in the back. And right now they are not caring too much about cut Jack Crevalle. Reasons why they may not be eating: they may not like cut Jack Crevalle. They may be leader shy. They could see the leader there. That is 15-pound titanium leader. or that float combination with the cut bait just isn't going to cut it for these bluefish. Now do we have the flounder is back. Coming up, I think he may actually get brave enough to chomp down. Really a snaky critter from a side view. Oh, went right at it and just paused. There he goes. He nudges it. It's kind of cool seeing this thing fight this bait. There he goes. He's taking a chomp at it. Just got a little piece and tasted it. Doesn't know what to think about it. Back to the ocean floor where it's safe. If he's exposed up there in the water column, that makes him bait for a predator. They will eat anything moving, toothy critters. So this flounder better be careful, or he may be food for something else. Here comes a school of pompano. Good to see this. This is about a week ago. Looks like about 8 coming through frame. Of course, they are not even going to get close to cut bait. I've never caught a pompano on cut bait. And look, there's a snail. I told you 80% of the time there is going to be a snail. Here comes a hardtail. People do eat hardtail, but just not interested in cut Jack Crevalle. Very frustrating here, not getting any kind of hookup. 2 different kinds of species that would eat the cut bait did not even take a chance. Here comes another hardtail just going right on by. That is a redfish in the background. 3rd species that would eat my cut bait, and it's not even getting close enough to at least nudge it with its nose. I'm beginning to think they see the leader, or they just don't like Jack Crevalle. Again, what do you think? That is a very good size redfish on the right of the frame. Probably slot another redfish. Looks like it's going to attack the further dropper in the back. 2, 3 redfish. You can see the silhouettes of 3 redfish coming through. And again, discouraging. Not even a chance. Here one gets close. Let's see. Oh, he hits the bead. Doesn't even get close to the cut bait. More redfish. Wow, there is a lot of redfish activity. These aren't gigantic. These are the ones you could take home for dinner. I love eating redfish. It is a great table fare. Just not interested. There's a good shot of that redfish. Man, it is frustrating. I had no idea this was happening. On camera, under the water. My bait didn't even move. There's another silhouette of another redfish coming through, just like a ghost. 2 of them. Shadow, another one coming through. And this is what's amazing about this camera. You see the missed opportunity, more hardtail, and you go back and look, and if you get skunked that day, you may think there were no fish in the area, but look, lots of opportunity. There's a snail again at the bottom of the frame. More hardtail, like I said, 80% of the time, be aware that there's a snail staging your rig, waiting for the opportunity to take a chance at taking your bait and eating it. This is a good school of hardtail coming through. They're also known as blue runners. What are you seeing in this video? What am I missing? What do you think the reason is that these fish that like to eat cut bait aren't giving the cut bait the time of day? There are another school of bluefish coming through the frame. A lot of opportunities to catch eater-sized bluefish. They're not even getting close to the bait. I think it's because of the leader. I think it's because of the float. And maybe because of the cut Jack Crevalle. If you've had success with cut Jack Crevalle, leave me a comment below in the comment section. Just frustrating here, seeing all this opportunity missed. And here's a good shot. This is not using the float, still using the leader, and this snail has completely grabbed the Jack Crevalle. And just watch this thing. I want you to see that it is burying it down in the seabed once it gets position, and we will no longer have an effective rig. Not because the rig is faulty, but because one of the droppers is getting buried down in the sand. Let me know if this is new for you, if you have never seen the attack of the olive snails. We do have one dropper in the back there. I'm assuming that another snail will find that dropper since it is bouncing up and down on the bottom of the seafloor. That is why we use floats, because of critters like the olive snail. Now, I know that the olive snail in of itself has been used as a jig by older surf fishermen. They'd fill it with lead and add treble hooks, and it would bounce it off the bottom of the floor. Those things can be pretty big. I don't know if that would have worked, in my opinion, but I'm sure it did. If you have seen anybody use an olive snail as an attractant to catch fish, leave a comment below, or even some kind of reference where it has been used. But in the meantime, I can't stress enough that this pest of surf fishing is going to steal your bait, and you can see it here enveloping the cut Jack Crevalle with its pseudopod, false foot, and beginning to dive down into the sand where it's protected from prey, because it's vulnerable when that false foot is exposed. You can see it rolling around there. Pretty soon it will right side up and begin to penetrate down into the sand. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned new knowledge like I do every time I dive underneath the water with the Westin Escape Cam. It is a game changer. And here we go, casting the Go Fish Cam into the beaches off of Pensacola Beach, and it is a fabulously clear day. I'm using a Mortician's rig. The snoods or the droppers are actually 12-pound fluorocarbon, and I'm using the Shellfish Gear floaty jigs with a sand flea cut in half. In the background, you can see a pompano coming into frame, and I want you to see all those little tiny fish that he's going to swim through. He's not interested in my bait. But there are tons of small fish. I can't really tell what they are, but they're covering the bottom of the ocean floor. Here is the full fast frames of the fish. And you're going to see that I'm going to put it in slow first, and then I'm going to come back and put it in regular speed so you can see how much time you really have to catch these fish. That was a ladyfish. Again, look at all the bait fish. Here we have the faint shadow of some more pompano coming in. This is a little school. And there they are. Either they're a little spooked by the Go Fish Cam, or they're just not hungry. All those pompano are indeed keeper-sized fish. You can see how the Shellfish Gear floaty jig keeps the sand flea suspended. It is a soft float, not a hard float, so it feels more natural when it's eaten. Check out that school. Right by it. Sometimes they'll hit the bead, sometimes they'll hit the float and the bait, but they are just cruising on by. Full speed right here. Look how much time you have really to catch a fish. If they're not hungry, they're gone. It happens so quick. Boom. We'll see ya. Fast little pompano. We got some more pompano. This is so much activity that are in these waters right now. This is the first week in October, the weekend. Coming close, but no cigar. Right by it. If you've ever fished for pompano, you know that they're the strongest fighting fish, pound for pound, in the ocean. They're part of the jack family, and they're so tasty. Again, they are not interested at all in what I've got going on. This is about 9 o'clock during the day. More pompano. This cast I can't make as far because I'm slinging around 8 ounces total with the camera and the 4-ounce pyramid. This is about 60 feet to 100 feet from shore. That's a big one. That's a big pompano. Long fish. Missed opportunities. Hey, you can't catch them if they're not hungry. Full speed right here. There's that big one. Gone. I think it's really important to show you not only to slow it down, but also that full speed, so you get a perspective of what it's really like when we're seeing these fish come through. Stingray, boom, gone. How about that thing? Needlefish gar. And he's the only thing that wants to eat my half of a sand flea in my floaty jig. What a bizarre fish. Really showcases the creativity of God to make so many different species of fish unique in their own way. Here's full speed, boom, gone. Now this is what I'm really excited to show you. I have never seen this fish on camera anywhere. This is the first time I've seen this on an underwater fishing camera. It's a whole school. Do you know what those are? They're not permit. Let's let them come in a little bit more and you'll see. That is a school of palmettos. An unregulated species like pompano in the same family. I've only caught one in my lifetime that was decent enough to keep. Again, I could have kept an 8-incher. But this school is pretty big, and we have so much more opportunity than we think fishing the Gulf Coast, coast of Pensacola Beach, to catch a palmetto. If you've caught one before and have eaten it, let me know what it tastes like. But these fish are really mesmerizing. The long fins. It's like a permit that didn't decide to stop growing those top and lower fins. And I would say these fish are probably 12 inches to 13 inches to the fork. They're a really decent sized palmetto. And they are just gorgeous and fascinating. We're going to get some close-ups here in a second. Again, this rig brought them in close, but they didn't eat it. Here, look at that one. Gosh, what an amazing creature that these palmettos are. Here we go. This one's coming in to show you who she is. Look at the 3 little lines on the side. That is a palmetto. Those 3 little lines are on every palmetto fish on both sides of the fish. Wow. Just amazing. Looks at it, goes right on by. Would you expect to have seen this type of fish on this video today? Here we go. We're going full speed just to show you that was long, drawn out, but this is how fast these things are and how much time you really have to get them to try to eat. Look at that. Just coming in and going. Boom. See ya. Here we go. Look at this. Followed up by permit. A school of permit. This is all in the same day. It's about an hour and 15-minute continual footage in the water. And look at all these fish that came by. Just put that into perspective. That one thinks it's a permit, but it's a palmetto that got lost. Here's full speed. These things are glistening. I mean, they're just boom, 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 gone. Just like that. Followed up by more pompano. In and out of frame. Again, this is October. This is what you can expect if you're going fishing. And look at this. Bluefish in the mix with the pompano. So there's a modified Salty McCoy rig so I could put this Go Fish cam on. We're going to put baits on this double drop Salty Pompano rig. I love the color green and black together. And we're going to see what we can see, hopefully taking this bait as we fish. Put some bright yellow fish scale on the top dropper. Put ghost shrimp on the bottom dropper. All set. Let's get the camera turned on. Has an inward battery. Put a mini SD card there. We turn it on. We're gonna record in the highest quality that we can, which I'll get about 80 minutes out of that, which is pretty good. I modified this Go Fish cam. Usually you're not supposed to use this float this way, but this is the only way that I can frame up the action of the droppers on this surf fishing rig. So I'll do a separate video one day of how to set up the Go Fish cam for set rigs. Casting this out with the TFO Tactical Surf Rod by Temple Fork Outfitters. Love the rod. Caught some red snapper from the beach using this rod. There are 3 stars of the video. The first one is the Go Fish cam. You're going to see some incredible underwater footage. The second is Salty's Pompano rig, which is that rig you're seeing right there. And the third is the fish. And we begin with the Atlantic bumper. I believe that's what it is. If it's not, let me know in the comments below. Next fish up is a cigar minnow, a tasty critter for king mackerel and really every species of fish. And now we have a permit. That's right, folks, a permit. He looked at the ghost shrimp, then goes after the fish gum, but eats the float instead and spits it right out. Stick around, I'll give you my thoughts on what I see down here to make us better anglers, and that permit is gone. Pompano time. Float again. Float was what he went after first. Salty, you've got yourself a good product, buddy. And then we got the other one actually getting a hit on the ghost shrimp, and they're gone. Or are they? It is amazing to see that although they did not get hooked, they're still curious over the ghost shrimp and the fish gum and the Pompano rig. And they hang around for a while in a pair, and they're gone. Are they? Now they are. We've got a school of ladyfish. This is what makes it so hard to fish during the summertime. This is August. You're dealing with a bunch of ladyfish. I don't know what that little volcano is underneath the bait there. It could be air, or it could be something living in there from tremors. You remember those things? Stuff like that is down there. I promise you there's some crazy stuff. Huge school of fish in the background. That is more ladyfish. I am surprised that they didn't eat this bait. Usually they will hit anything that is in their path, but they go right by. There goes another fast cigar minnow. This is cast number 2. You saw what we had in terms of opportunity in the first cast. Let's see what we have in terms of opportunity in the second cast. Both this time are ghost shrimp. Salty's Pompano rig, Go Fish cam. Got a pompano coming in from the distance. All this is in slow-mo, by the way. I've cut the speed down in half so we can see what's going on, so we will not miss anything. That pompano is still there checking out the bait. He's behind the camera. Looks at it. Let's see if he's smart enough to eat it. That is a hook in the mouth. Oh, hook out of the mouth again. Out of the mouth, dropped, going after the dropper number 2. Ghost shrimp still. And we're going to see it in slow-mo again. First dropper. It looks like he's chewing it rather than sucking it all the way back. How these fish eat is they suck it in and get it back to their crushers. And that's not what happened. Same thing here. It really looks like he's just chewing on it. That is amazing. Not hooked yet. Now he's hooked. The fish is on. You can tell he's hooked. It's going to be very erratic. He's trying to get off. I probably am running to the rod right now back on shore. I'm not reeling it in at this point. Now I am. The placement is the camera is down by the seabed, down by the weight, pointing back up at the sky. And we're just seeing this fish go crazy, trying to shake free from Salty's Pompano rig. This is full speed, normal speed. And as you can tell, I know you're getting sick. Sorry. This fish is coming straight in. There's no more erratic fight. And he's about to get landed on the shore. Really interesting to see how far this fight was. I don't remember casting it that far, but evidently it was out there from the TFO Got the surf ride by Temple Fork Outfitters. And here he is. Hello. There's me. There's Justin Reed fishing. Hey, Justin. Cast number 3. Going back down. This will be the last cast of the day. I had about 180 minutes of footage. There's a ghost shrimp hole. They're really sparse in Florida on the beaches. You find ghost shrimp in a lot of areas in the sounds and bays in large numbers. There's a speckled crab. He will not be here long. The floats really prevent him from stealing the bait. And we have a super school of bluefish. Such a beautiful thing to see under the water, and they're not taking in the bait. Look at the camera. The camera is a black object, and I think at times it makes the fish skittish. I am thankful for the level of activity that we had from the permit and the pompano. There's something moving right above the Go Fish Cam emblem, and we're going to zoom in here. I don't know what that is. If you know what that is, it's alive and nothing's eating it, leave a comment in the description below. I'd really like to know what that is. And here we go, another bluefish taking a swipe but not inhaling the bait. And we've got more bluefish coming through. Maybe the same school coming back our way. Maybe another one. Just not enough there for it to eat the ghost shrimp. Here we go. We got a ladyfish. Does take a strike. Does not get hook set. Another one gets a strike at it, but just didn't inhale it in. But it does play with the bait for a long time. Very interesting that it took a solo ladyfish to eat it, but not one in the school. Another pompano. Will it hit? Nope. We're going to finish off with some blues. A little Go Fish Cam parallel camera mod that I made. So we've got the Go Fish Cam. We're going to drop it down here at the end of the pier. This is the Navarre Beach Pier. It can be one of the busiest piers in the country for good fish. And so we're hoping that this cigar minnow will attract fish up close to the camera and also pan around to see what's underneath the end of the pier. There's a Go Fish Cam. We're going to start by dropping it right here. We'll drop it all the way to the bottom. Here we go, floating the camera down. The Go Fish Cam is available at gofishcam.com. And the first fish we see is a banded runnerfish. That's right, a banded rudderfish. I've never seen those caught at Navarre Beach Pier. You can target those. Small bait fish, probably light leader, and they are excellent table fare. I mean excellent table fare. Here we go, we got a school of LY, and it's just amazing just to watch those fish. We got something very curious of the camera. Don't really know what that was. If you know what that fish was, leave a comment below. Please help us identify some of these fish. I do have some pinfish, and pinfish at the pier, #1 nuisance for bait. #1 nuisance. If you've got even bull minnows, they've got little tiny teeth and they will peck it apart, render it useless. It really is amazing. And this is the first time I've rigged the Go Fish Cam. This is the first time I've used the Go Fish Cam with a side angle. Usually it's either pointing back up towards the sky or pointing straight down. You do see better when it is a side view. School of cigar minnows with a banded rudderfish, chasing them down, trying to get a quick snack. I don't know if those on the right in the corner of the screen coming through are cobia or remora, pilot fish. People swear that they are excellent to eat, the pilot fish. I have never eaten one. If you've eaten one, leave a comment below. Tell us how it was. There we go. That is another banded rudderfish. I don't know what that yellowfish is. I have no idea. Never seen that before in my life. What a beautiful fish. It looks tropical. And it's just one. So that thing may be lost. There goes a blue runner. Look at that fish. I mean, that's a pretty good sized fish. Big enough to eat. And we've got a silhouette shining in the sun of a sea turtle. There were about 2 to 3 sea turtle that day that I saw in the water. Didn't even know this was getting on frame. You can see how a bunch of fish follow the sea turtle. There is a remora underneath it. You can see the faint shadow. Cobia fishermen will chase down turtle if they see it in the ocean. Typically during cobia season you're going to have cobia follow turtles and manta ray. There we go, better shot. There we go, close up. Look at all that fish. Man, beautiful banded rudderfish. I don't know if this is a banded rudderfish. This looks like something different. No, it still is. We're just right in the middle of the school of the LY. Another cigar minnow. If you're ever at the pier and you're trying to catch live cigar minnow, you can use sabiki rigs, but one of the best ways to catch them is actually to bait those sabiki hooks with a cigar minnow, cut up little small pieces, and then on the top hook of the sabiki cut a full cigar minnow in half that you've stepped on where all the juices and the scent are being released, and hook it to the top hook. That will attract the school and you will catch cigar minnows one after another. A pier fisherman taught me how to do that, and it really was the easiest way. I mean, if they're thick, yeah, a simple sabiki rig will work, but that method is really amazing. Just being in the school, just seeing these fish just stack up like that, it's really a beautiful thing to see. Got a banded runnerfish way in the back. There are 2 types of jack that look similar between the banded rudderfish and the other one is the pilot fish. They look very similar. I do think the one with the darker stripes is the pilot fish, and the one with the lighter stripes is the banded rudderfish, and that one has no stripes. That's some kind of lesser amberjack, almaco jack, or what's known as a bar jack. If you know what those smaller jack species are, please leave a comment below. But they're cruising. They look like they're about the size of a decent blue runner. Most of the bait stays at the bottom, and that's been consistently throughout the filming. The camera is closer to the bottom, but those fish are way at the bottom. There you go. Just a beautiful fish. If you don't believe there's a God when you see something like that, the patterns are unbelievable. Strategically placed on that fish by God. They're smelling the scent of the cigar minnow, and right here, this is proof. If you've noticed, the closest bait fish that have come to the camera have been pinfish and cigar minnows. Remember what I said about the cigar minnows and how to catch them. You use cigar minnows as bait to catch cigar minnows for bait. They are attracted to their own scent. These jack are everywhere. What do we got going on here? There's some more jacks hanging up by the piling. Stunning image of the school of LY. I could watch images like this all day. It's so beautiful how thick that really is. You'll be at the pier at times. Something will spook These LY, like that just happened right there. And it could be dolphin, Spanish mackerel. Got some upside down jacks of the jack family. Look how many jack are right there in that school. This was towards the east side of the pier, still at the octagon. Some blue runners mixed in with that jack family. Cigar minnows. Again, cigar minnows getting the closest. Blue runner. Try that method. I promise you, you'll catch more cigar minnows easier. And you'll catch them when nobody else is. Now, I have eaten barjack before. This was about 30 years ago. And they taste just like amberjack. They were excellent. Excellent to eat. There goes one going out. There's a little piece of the cigar minnow. These jack are everywhere. Again, I didn't see anybody catch them. Not one. How about that? There's one to the far right in the shadows, and there is a red drum. These fish were located about the first 1/3 of the pier. What is going on, Fish Gum family? Before we get out to the beach to do some underwater camera checking out what lives in the surf, what attacks the Pompano rig, I want to show you exactly what I will be slinging into the Gulf of Mexico here along Navarre Beach. First, you can see there is the Go Fish cam. It is attached to a 5-ounce Sputnik weight and your traditional double drop chicken rig, Pompano rig. This one is made by Salty McCrory. The rod I will be using is the TFO Tactical Surf Rod. It can sling up to 10 ounces, and that's exactly what we'll need. If the weight weighs 5 ounces, this weighs about 2.5, 3 ounces. I'm slinging 8 ounces into the ocean. The pool noodle is strapped on by a zip tie to keep this in the range and the right angle to capture the best video. So we hope we see some cool things. It's coming up right now.
thank you so much for watching. All right, here are my observations. It does appear that fish will not strike something bigger than they can handle. The only fish that really went after the baits was that little remora at the end. That makes sense, the smaller the fish, looking for anything to survive. But it does appear that fish have some kind of strike limit, that they're not going to tear apart something that is really bigger than what their mouths can handle. I didn't think that. I thought they would just start tearing up both baits and there wouldn't be left much on the hook at the end. Second thought is I believe that the cut bait brought in more fish. It looked like that the flashing of the hardtail on the bottom of the ocean created some flickering in the water, which I never thought about, maybe adding some kind of mirror or some kind of, I don't want to say metal because that would weigh down everything, but something in the water that would give this flashing on your double drop rig. That's what I use. So someone come up with something. I think we're onto something there with this flashing that could attract fish in the water, because minnows flash, other prey, they flash in the water. So that's really my second observation. Pretty cool stuff. I learned a lot. Again, tell me what you learned in this video and join me next time when we excite to strike. God bless.